All right, welcome everyone. The date is August 27th, 2024. Meeting is now called to order. Time is 6:02 p.m. Meeting is being held at the Lancaster Administration Board Auditorium, 422 South Center Avenue, Lancaster, Texas. The meeting has been properly posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act. I will now take roll. Trustee Cluis.
Present.
Vice President Smith.
Present.
Trustee Nichols.
Present.
Is anyone online? Yes, Trustee Whitfield. Trustee Whitfield. Okay, currently absent. When she comes on, we'll recognize her. A quorum is present. Okay. Trustee Whitfield.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, will you show yourself for a second so we can see you? Without you being on screen, you're still considered absent. Okay, so until she's visible, she'll still be absent. We do have a quorum present. The first item on our agenda is citizen communication. Do we have any? All right. Next we have is the convening of the public hearing. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, President Jones. Today, Dr. Cheek is going to present some information to you all this afternoon, but I just wanted to kind of say before is that this budget for 24-25 for Lancaster signifies, I think, some of the strategic plans that we have in place, really focuses it in on early education, academic advancement, facilities, as well as community involvement. And I think that it shows, again, that we are dedicated to fostering an environment, I think, where our students can excel. The budget not only addresses our immediate need, but it also sets the stage, I think, for sustainable growth over time. And so we encourage the board, again, to carefully review what's being presented today, which is designed, again, to create a brighter future here in Lancaster ISD. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Cheek. Yours.
Thank you. President Jones, esteemed trustees, Superintendent Dr. Pereira, I present tonight and to you and to the public the proposed 24-25 budget and the proposed tax year 2024 tax rates. We have a number of assumptions for the 24-25 budget. Our projected enrollment of 6,950 comes from our demographic study conducted by Bob Templeton of Zonda Education. We also looked at a 3-year trend to determine a -2% of refined average daily attendance and a 98% tax collection rate. We are assuming an M&O tax rate of 0.7892, and this was determined by TEA. It is an at-the-floor level or lowest possible amount due to maximum tax compression. We have added the 17 eligible pennies for our district and an INS tax rate at our current level for a combined rate of 1.2244. I will point out that the board book presentation of the public hearing had a tax rate listed on this slide of 1.2267, which was last year's tax rate, which was on the June 27th workshop, which is what we used because at that time we did not have the maximum compression rate. It had not yet been released by TEA. As we explained in the workshop, we looked at 2 different methods to determine what we would use for our property value for our revenue projections. In the first method, we used the TASBO model and looked at a proportionate rate. Sorry. And that gave us a 0.98 estimate for tax year 2024 and gave us just over a $6 billion T2 certified value. Method 2, we looked at an annual growth rate and looked at a percentage. And as you can see, from tax year 2015 all the way down to 2023, we looked at an average of an 18% growth rate. This gave us a T2 certified value estimate of about $5.7 billion. And that was the most conservative estimate for our property values and gave us the most conservative value for our revenue estimate. And we decided to go with the method 2 values to plug into the template for our revenue projections. As you will see from this slide, this is an actual screenshot from the TEA revenue projections from the template that we use. It's fondly called Omar's template from the person that created it, actually for Bach Financial, coincidentally. But this gives us a total FSP state aid projection of $25 million. And a total state and local M&O revenue projection of approximately $68 million. You will also notice that even with this very conservative approach, we estimate that our recapture amount will be approximately $1.1 million. As we have discussed before, the state share versus local share is a balancing act. So as LISD has watched its property value rise significantly over the last several years, of course, we know that is due to the large manufacturing facilities that have come into the district. We have seen the state share go down because as the local share of tax collection increases, the TEA state share will decrease and they send less money. Our estimated total revenues for 24-25 are $78.7 million. Local tax collections, interest on investments, rents from a rental of our facilities, and miscellaneous local collections such as gate revenue and other things through athletics, we estimate $45.7 million in local revenue. We estimate $31.7 in total state revenue. All right, this does include TRS on behalf. And we also estimate SHAR's revenue at $1.3 million. I do also want to point out that this is a conservative federal revenue. We are not sure what the outcome will be of the appeals for SHARs. In the past, LISD has gotten well over $1 million from SHAR's revenue, plus indirect costs, but we know that in this past year, it was cut over 50%. We only collected about $600,000 in SHAR's revenue. We do not know what the appeal outcome will be, so we have adjusted and made a conservative estimate there as well. Our expenditures include $66 million in salary projections. This includes salary and benefits. It includes our total stipends. It also includes TRS on behalf, as did our revenue. That is a mandatory part of what we must include in our budget. It is an offset. It is part of GASB. So whatever we equal in revenue for TRS on behalf, we also must include in our expenditures. They must be exactly the same. Whitley Penn always includes that every year in the audit. The operations budget is projected at $7.3 million, and this included both maintenance and operations and transportation. Note that this includes all utilities and fuel as well. The teaching and learning budget is estimated at $7.7 million. That includes accountability, CTE, student services, fine arts, special education, school leadership, summer school, and state compensatory education. The administrative budget at $2.7 million. This includes the Board of Trustees, the superintendent, legal fees, the conservators, general counsel, human resources, the police department and security, communications, and financial services. Technology at $1.5 million, campus budgets at $1 million, athletics at $1 million, and this does include all athletic facilities and their maintenance, sports, concessions, travel, and playoffs. And playoffs was one area that was not put in the budget in previous years, and Lancaster very proudly was very, very successful in the playoffs this year, and we had to go back in the final amendment and make adjustments to Function 36 because of the amount of money that it costs to cover playoff expenditures. We did take the time to look at other regions to make comparisons to how our budget looked. And we had data from Region 10 that was provided to all superintendents. Looking at the July 1 fiscal districts, 43 out of 80 districts in Region 10 responded to Executive Director Gordon Taylor in a survey. Of the 43 districts that responded, 26 adopted a deficit budget. Out of our neighbors in the best Southwest, those who adopted a July 1 budget, Cedar Hill had a deficit budget of $5.8 million, and Duncanville had a deficit of $18.5 million. I also want to bring to the board and the community's attention a recent study out of Rice University from the Kinder Institute for Urban Research. This was a study done on Texas school district funding gaps. And I did put at the bottom of the slide, we made the list. We're usually excited to be A-listers, but this was not a list that we wanted to be proud to make. What this list showed, and that we were specifically named in, is that LISD is one of the districts in the state of Texas that is grossly underfunded in order to meet the instructional needs of its students. Now, this study, which I did include in board book for you, but I believe it is in the special called meeting board book documents and not in the public hearing documents, takes into consideration a number of factors, including our poverty levels and the scores that we have had and the trends in our achievement, and looks at the needs that it takes to educate our students. We were the highest in the best Southwest as far as being underfunded. Again, not where we want to be, right? We don't want to be the highest. But LISD is considered to be 58% underfunded. It is estimated that we need $23,000 per student to adequately fund instructional needs, which means that we are $13,506 in a funding gap per student to educate our students. And we would need an additional $37,441,855 to meet the educational needs of our students in comparison to other districts in the state of Texas. We are one of the most severely underfunded school districts by TEA in the state of Texas, who has to give $1.1 million back to the TEA. Our proposed budget tonight for 24-25 includes the general fund in green, child nutrition in gray, debt service in blue. It includes our local sources of revenue, our state sources of revenue, and our federal sources of revenue. It also includes expenditures by function, and the board has the job by state education code and by policy to adopt the budget at its functional level. We estimate a deficit of over $8 million to adequately fund our students and their educational needs in the general fund. However, based on the child nutrition revenues that have come in and that we have budgeted, we do expect a surplus in our child nutrition. Now, we're not allowed to have a surplus in child nutrition, so you will see that we had asked Dr. Kimbrough to work on supplying a budget that actually would spend down the surplus that we received this year, so you will see a deficit in the proposed budget that is very on purpose and necessary for child nutrition in order for him to pass the necessary items that he needs through TDA. Our debt service, as you will see, includes an excess of over $12 million. And as you might recall, when Mr. McLaughlin was here to present to you at the workshop, our current INS rate with our increased property values gives us the opportunity to collect in excess and pay down and refund our bond debt. Mr. McLaughlin is present tonight to answer any questions that we may have about that. I also wanted to bring to your attention our current operating fund balance and its trends. CE Local is our district policy which addresses our assigned and unassigned fund balance, and it does state that we need 3 months of operating expenditures in our fund balance. That is what we must have. Our 3-month operating expenditures in LISD is $18 million. We spend on average $6 million a month to cover our invoices and to cover payroll and utilities and everything. That total all in, $6 million. So 3 months running average of $18 million. We currently have over $36 million in our fund balance. If you might remember, earlier in the year, we asked the board to borrow $3 million in order to pay Chartwell's the invoices that we had for the year. We're very pleased to tell you we have paid fund balance back, and so we have restored that. It was just a quick loan and that we were able, as soon as our money came in, to give back. So we are back at the healthy level of the 36 million. Plus, as you might remember from last week, we estimate to put over $1.3 million in when this fiscal audit closes from the 23-24 school year. So we do expect that to climb again as well. So I do feel comfortable as the CFO to present a deficit budget to this board. I do feel that we are financially stable enough to handle that deficit in order to meet the needs of the district. As I said earlier, we are at the floor because of maximum tax compression. Our M&O Tier 1 rate of 0.6169 is given to us. We do not have a choice. Our 17 cents in Tier 2, those last 3.4 pennies were voted on by the community and by the citizens in the Vader in November, and we are at the maximum now of 17 cents. And that stays in existence until the state decides to offer the opportunity for more pennies. Our current INS tax rate is 0.4375, and the board is the only entity that can change that rate. So combined, that total gives us 1.2244 for a combined tax rate. I would like to point out that since the 99-2000 school year, which is now over 25 years, this is a combined tax rate that is the lowest that LISD has had, starting with 1.6757 in the 99-2000 school year, now down to 1.2244. Now, that does not mean that the citizens of Lancaster have not felt an increase in their taxes. They have. I know you have. That is because of the property value. That even though maximum compression and because of the decisions of this board have lowered property taxes every year, property value has increased. So taxpayers have still felt higher taxes, even though you have lowered the tax rate. This slide comes directly from Mr. McLaughlin's presentation to you about our prepayment of bonds prior to their scheduled maturity, and is the example of how, by keeping the same tax rate, INS tax rate of 0.4375, LISD would be able to prepay approximately $13 million in debt, which would lead to us having a bond capacity in the very near future of approximately $41 million. Are there any final thoughts or questions?
Thank you very much, Dr. Cheek. Do we have any questions of the trustees?
President Jones, I have a question or two.
Trustee Clois?
Dr. Cheek, would you go back to the slide with the child nutrition? Would you explain how the community eligibility program, or provision rather, how that ties into child nutrition for this year or the upcoming, for this school year?
We have applied for CEP for the last two remaining campuses. While we have not received anything that is in writing official. We have been unofficially told that no one is not approved. So we do expect that now that we have passed the audit and the corrective action plan, we expect all campuses to be 100% free, which means we will be able to collect at the maximum level for federal for all meals, breakfast and lunch.
So my second question is, from this same slide, the $8.4 million deficit, how do we plan on clearing that? Where would those dollars come from?
Yeah, well, if this particular budget is 100% accurate, it would come directly from fund balance. However, I believe, and my team believes, that this revenue projection is conservative, ultra conservative. I do believe that after snapshot and after true property values are determined in January, that we will be able to increase the revenue projection. I think we will have a better idea also on ADA, which will give us a much better, a closer projection as well. So I believe that we will be able to increase revenue. I also have looked at the trends of expenditures, and we have always come in under budget. And they've always put money back in fund balance from expenditure. So I believe with a combination of increasing revenue and coming in under budget, that this $8.4 million deficit will be greatly reduced.
Thank you.
I guess before I move forward, are there any additional questions from the dais? Okay, if not, this is a public hearing. Do we have any of the public or citizens who like to make a comment? All right. Also like to recognize Trustee Hamilton has arrived. And Trustee Hamilton, if you would you show yourself? We can count you present, and then you can go back off screen.
She arrived at 6:23 p.m.
All right, thank you.
and Trustee Morris arrived at 6:08 p.m.
Noted. If there are no additional questions, we will close the hearing. Thank you very much, Dr. T.
Thank you.
And we have a few seconds before our next meeting begins. All right, so the board meeting is now called to order. Time is 6:30 p.m. The meeting has been properly posted in accordance to the Texas Open Meeting Act. I will now take roll. Trustee Nichols.
Present.
Vice President Smith. Here. Secretary Morris.
Present.
Trustee Cluis.
Present.
Trustee Hamilton.
Present.
Trustee Whitfield.
Present.
And myself here, we do have a quorum. Are there any citizens' communications? All right. And the mission of Lancaster ISD is to empower all students' purpose and passion through a quality education. Thank you very much for that, Vice President Smith. We have action items. The first is to approve the 2024-2025 proposed budget. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, President Jones. I'll call Dr. Sheik back up to the podium for any additional questions.
President Jones, esteemed trustees, Dr. Pereira, we present the 24-25 proposed budget.
All right, Board, so we have seen this during the public hearing, and have also had additional sessions in the past. Are there any questions that we need to pose? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President,
Secretary Morris?
thank you. I propose that the board approve the 2024-2025 proposed budget.
We have a motion by Secretary Morris,
Second.
second by Vice President Smith. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll now take a vote. Trustee Cluis?
Yes.
Secretary Morris?
Yes.
Vice President Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Nichols?
Yes.
Trustee Hamilton? Trustee Hamilton?
Yes.
Trustee Whitfield?
Abstain.
Myself voting yes, motion carries 6-0-1. Yes. Definitely want to applaud the Finance Department for their work in this matter. Also, I got an email today from DCAT about them going to a 2-year appraisal. So I know that's going to impact us in the future, and I know you guys will be working a lot harder on that to look at these budgets. So again, I want to applaud this team as well as Dr. Pereira for those efforts. The next item on our agenda is to approve the tax year 2024 proposed tax rate. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, President Jones. And again, Dr. Cheek, the floor is yours.
All right. President Jones, esteemed trustees, and Dr. Pereira, we recommend an M&O Tier 1 tax rate of 0.6169, an M&O Tier 2 tax rate of 0.1700, an INS tax rate of 0.4375 with a combined total of 1.2244, and a tax resolution that has been uploaded to Board Book for your approval.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Chick. Any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion for this item. Secretary Morris.
Thank you very much. I propose that the board approve the tax year 2024 proposed tax rate.
Okay,
I second.
been properly moved by Secretary Morris and second by Trustee Nichols. Is there any additional discussion?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll now take a vote. Trustee Nichols,
Yes.
Trustee Hamilton,
Yes.
Vice President Smith,
Yes.
Secretary Morris, Trustee Cluis, Trustee Whitfield,
Abstain.
myself voting yes, motion carries 6-0-1. The resolution is here. I don't believe I need to read this, but
Yes.
I do need to read this.
There's a motion for you to read, I believe, that was uploaded.
Okay. Let's go here then. The resolution of the Board of Trustees of Lancaster Independent School Districts adopting the tax rate for the fiscal year 2024-2025. Whereas the Board of Trustees of Lancaster Independent School District, the district is authorized to levy, assess, and collect ad valorem taxes for the operation and maintenance of the district's schools and for the payment of the principal and interest on bonds lawfully issued. Whereas the Texas Education Code and the Texas Tax Code require the district to calculate and adopt a tax rate that includes the maintenance and operations, M&O rate, and the interest in sinking, the INS rate, for debt service obligations. Whereas the Board of Trustees has conducted a public hearing on August 27, 2024, as required by law, to consider the district's budget and proposed tax rate. Whereas the district has calculated the tax rates as follows: maintenance and operations, M&O rate at 0.7869 per $100 of taxable value. interest and sinking INS rate at 0.4375 per $100 of taxable value. Total tax rate is $1.2244 per $100 of taxable value. Whereas the proposed tax rate exceeds the no new revenue tax rate, resulting in increased revenue from property taxes. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Lancaster Independent School District that the board hereby adopts the total tax rate of $1.2244 per $100 of taxable value for the fiscal year of 2024-25, consisting of the following components: a maintenance and operation M&O rate of $0.7869 per $100 of taxable value, and an interest and sinking INS rate of $0.4375 per $100 of taxable value. This tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's tax rate. The tax rate will effectively be raised by 5.57% and will raise taxes for maintenance and operation on a $100,000 home value by approximately $4.16. The superintendent or her designee is authorized to take all necessary action to implement this resolution, including but not limited to providing required notices and certifying the tax rate to the appropriate tax assessor collector. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. Passed and approved by the Board of Trustees of the Lancaster Independent School District on this 27th day of August 2024. It will be signed by Board President Ty G. Jones and Secretary Carolyn Ann Morris. Whew, that's a lot.
Thank you.
I feel like I was in the third grade being reading in front of people. The next item on our agenda is consider all matters incident and related to providing for the deficient, I killed that word. Defeasance, thank you, and redemption of certain currently outstanding obligations of the district, including the adoption of an order pertaining thereto. Dr. Pereira.
Thank you, President Jones. And once again, Lady of the Hour, Dr. Cheek.
Thank you, President Jones, trustees, and Dr. Pereira. I recommend that the board consider approving the redemption of our currently outstanding obligations of the district, including the adoption of the order pertaining thereto. And if I may approach the bench, I have the order on my computer.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Cheek. Are there any questions about this item? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion, which is before you two over there.
Mr. President,
Vice President Smith.
I move to approve the redemption of certain currently outstanding obligations of the district, Series 2015-A, including the adoption of an order pertaining thereto.
All right, it's been properly moved. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, second by Trustee Nichols. Are there any questions at this point? Hearing none, I'll now entertain a vote. Trustee Hamilton?
Yes.
Trustee Nichols?
Yes.
Vice President Smith?
Yes.
Secretary Morris?
Yes.
Trustee Cluis?
Yes.
Trustee Whitfield?
Abstain.
Myself voting yes. Motion passes 6-0-1. And I go back to third grade again. So let me read this resolution.
You don't need to read that
Oh,
entire
thank you.
resolution.
Lord, I'm having flashbacks to Miss
That's-
Fields' class.
That's why I had you read that motion.
All right. So the next item on our agenda
It's adjournment.
is adjournment. Any questions? Comments? All right. This meeting is so adjourned. 6:41.